My role as a community builder is to support people in the community to set up community projects for families of children from 0 to 5. I start off by having conversations with people to identify their talents, their passions, their skills and ideas. Then I take it from there and then connect them with local assets and other connectors who share similar passions. These local assets could be community spaces, local funding. I also help them to connect with established community groups or organizations.
We identify people that we like to call community connectors, and they're the people that are in the community. They know the community really well. They know what's going on and they're really tuned in. And they're a real local asset because actually it's those people that get things done, and they're the people that can help you when you need to find out, is there anyone in the community who knows about breastfeeding? They all bring different things. Some of them bring just their connections, just the people that they know, and others bring skills and knowledge and expertise in something, and others just bring energy and just bring that spark that needs to set things off. And they might not always be involved throughout the project, but they're the ones that start it off. So our role is to identify those people and get to know them and work with them, and more importantly introduce them to other people in the community and actually build this real network.
On my very first day at the Woodlands Children's Centre, which is based in the very heart of the Monks Hill estate, the very first conversation I had was that there used to be a community centre there. And every conversation I've had with members of that community since then has always ended with an issue about the community centre. And when the new school was built, the local community was promised that they would have access to a community centre. And the reality is that it's a community room after school hours. And everybody always ends the conversation with, and that's not community centre, is it?
I met Maxine through Facebook. She posted saying that she wanted to get together with some other mums and do some exercise. So I sent her a message and I actually didn't hear anything back for a couple of weeks. And then she contacted me out the blue just to say, let's meet up. We had a really, really good conversation. We talked about her idea, her passion. She'd love to get fit and meet other mums. And that's where the idea came out, starting an exercise group.
One of the first people who I met who took a real interest in the work that I was doing and really made me feel welcome. It's a great grandmother who cares for her great granddaughter, and I met her at a Castle Hill messy play. We just had some really good conversations. One thing she told me was that there was a family support worker that worked for the children's centres. He would organise day outs during the half-term holidays, the summer holidays, and Mo said that that was really great for the kids, for the carers, and Mo lamented a little bit. I asked her, why do you think that broke down? And she said, well, it's obvious because he left his role. And I said, that's quite interesting because it's a community trip and it doesn't really need to rely on that one person. It just rested in my mind a little bit that people shared that interest of going out, getting fresh air with other families. I then had an ideas fair. It was a great turnout, and it was my job to find out what people like to do and what they'd like to see happen in their community. And the same thing I kept getting back. It was going out, it was coming together as a community with families.
It was quite a challenge to find a space on a Sunday because most of the places are closed. So after quite a few attempts, I went to St. George's Church in Woden and I met lovely Mother Pat, and just by conversation engaging with her and telling her what I was doing, what my job was, I just briefly mentioned to her that I'm actually looking for a place on a Sunday afternoon for fathers to have a group so that they can spend some time with their children there. And straight away she told me that they had a slot between 2 and 4 in the afternoon in the church. His idea was that maybe first 2 weeks they will spend in the church hall indoors, and the third Sunday of the month they will be spending time outside in the park, engaging, playing games or doing some sports with their children. We held a community meeting and I invited along the local councillors. Well, Mother Pat was there, and I also invite Andrew from Wandle Park, the learning and volunteer officer, and he's got a lot of activities going on there, and he's been very helpful. He has given them an allotment so that the third Sunday of the month when they go and spend time in the park. Especially in summertime, they could do a little bit of a gardening, something different, again, different experience, different learning things for the children and the parents to do.
2 other initiatives came about through Sparkle's NCCG group. Sparkle and Andre had been in touch with the council to find out about how to do the community garden and the football competition and fun day, and what sort of permissions they would need, etc. They needed to be a proper constituted association, which they were. They got in touch with various other groups such as the Broad Green Residents Association, Croydon Transition Town, the Cherry Orchard Garden Centre that had donated plants. Manny from the Croydon Food Bank just happened to wander into the park at just the right time. Various mums were walking past, they stopped by to help, and children. And there were other connectors that I invited as well. Sparkle's husband knocked up a quick planter for the garden. Other mums who were helping promised to water it. On the way there, I went past a tyre shop and I got out and asked them. And they said we could have a load of tyres, so we were rolling tyres through the middle of Selhurst. That was quite funny. The Wilford Road Community Garden was born. Andre was successful in getting community ward funding. It got up and running. They attracted local business support. WeStack got involved with a stall. Legacy Arts, Susan, a mum who I'd met in Wilford Road one day, she did some volunteering. So it was a very lively event. And what was really good is like so many children benefited from the football coaching and training. And it was very exciting because the Deputy Mayor was invited too.
I was then at another community event and I was introduced to Helen. And she said, yeah, do you know about Hutchinson's Bank? It's a nature reserve in New Addington. And I had to double take. I was like, there's a nature reserve in New Addington. She said, from here up at the parade's about a 10-minute walk. Sean works for London Wildlife Trust. And we spoke on the phone and it just all started clicking together in my head that there was a new asset. Did people know about this? He said, we never get any local residents. It's such a shame because it would be great to have them see what they have on their doorstep. The Nature Reserve Open Day, I felt it was a success. It was pretty good. I probably saw about 10 to 12 families that I knew and that I had met and spoke with Sean. He said more local residents than he'd ever recorded. Yes, it was a little bit of effort, a little bit of know-how, a little bit of open communication, but we had a bit of success getting people to meet each other.
I encouraged them to set up a group to help other families. I then supported them by connecting them with Chill and Chat, emotional support group, National Autistic Society, Family Lives, Parent in Partnership, and the big local Broad Green. We had a community of practice meeting with all these established organizations to help them with information and to give them the support and for them to have the confidence that they will not be on their own. We also supported them to get their DBS done, and we registered them on the Croydon training website, which is free. And so far, they have completed training like safeguarding, data protection, and equality and diversity.
Peter, the vicar, and I had a long conversation about there clearly is a need for a community centre on a much wider scale. And he talked about the fact that the church had been happy to give the land as a starting point or somewhere to build. Sam, who had been very involved in setting up the Residents Association and is also one of the connectors that I've identified, I've put them both in touch with each other. And again, that was that issue of joining up the dots because clearly they were meant to meet and make this happen, and they've been working quite vociferously on it since.
When you've got small children, often things don't quite go to plan and you can't always be where you say you're going to be. And that's been a real problem with some of the groups that have been meeting. Quite often the mums and dads couldn't show up because things had happened, the child had fallen asleep, the child had had a tantrum. It was a day when Aluana's International Mums Group wasn't very busy and I had already arranged to meet Sakina at the cafe. I introduced them to each other and again they just had the space to talk about things and discuss what they felt the community needed. And from that, Sakina has now decided to put on a baby expo with Aluana's group and with another community connected through my work, Corinne, who supports wellbeing in parents, and another connector, Kirsty, who is a breastfeeding expert, and various other businesses like the Croydon Real Nappy Network and Baby Yoga.
Maxine lives very, very close to Thornton Heath Rec, so it's a really, really good space. It's a very flat space as well. It's a really good walking area around, and in the middle you've got the play park and you've got exercise machines. So that's where they meet, and they do a few exercises there. Sometimes they use their baby as weights, or they use their buggy as something to hold on to. So what's great about this group is that it's free, and I think it really sums up what ABCD is about. It's just a local mum with a passion and just wanting to get other mums who are in the same boat as her to get together.
The ladies, they called their group Take Time For You. They've already designed a leaflet, and their sessions will be starting officially in September 2017, every Wednesday.
Mark came to my ideas fair to promote his group as well. It was just amazing. He wasn't standing just at the table. He was going around the park trying to engage with the parents, to talk to fathers and tell them that there is a group. And there are a couple of places. One of them is Wandle Park Cafe. I actually saw the flyer. So he's been really good about thinking as well how to promote that group.
So being an ABCD community builder, it's rewarding. It can be challenging at times, but there's a lot of support from my mentor, my manager, CVA, and other community builders.